friends, and welcome to another episode of Dark Side of the Word, a weekly podcast for all the dark story lovers. My name is Kate, and I'm here with my bright co-host, CJ.
Hello, everybody. Is it bright because I have a ring light now and you can see my beautiful face?
I'm just going down the list.
Okay.
Also, I just want to tell everyone, in doing these video podcast episodes, we are trying out a program that we are not very happy with. I feel like there's nothing else out in the market without a massive amount of work from my part. So please put up with us while we complain to this company I spent money on to record these videos. Okay? And Riverside.
Seriously. And please excuse me just looking like a deer in headlights for, moments on end because there's just a delay and I can't hear what you're saying. So I don't want to be moving all around for you when you cut where I'm just in like this in one frame and then over here in the other frame. So I'm just trying to be like, so it looks consistent throughout.
Yes.
But really, I have no idea what you're saying until it comes in like 7 seconds later.
So please put up with us. If you don't like all the pauses, then I request that you go listen to us as a actual audio only podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeart. But please, We are fledgling podcasters that are just trying to do the best we can, and I am going to write a very strongly worded response to this company.
Seriously, they keep sending us surveys when we're done recording, and I give them a thumbs down every time because they fucking suck.
And the reason we didn't have video was because of them, like two podcasts ago. So, anyway, it is the last Thursday of the month. It is the best podcast episode of the month. It is book club time. So we hope you have a warm drink, a comfy spot to sit, and are ready to discuss this month's book because there will be so many spoilers. Go listen to one of our other book club episodes or be prepared because from this point on there will be spoilers. Exactly. So this month's book was The Woods All Black by Lee Mandela. Woo! All right. Now let me grab my
You
trusty...
mustered up a lot more enthusiasm from this book than I am managing to, is all I have to say.
All right. Well, let me pull up my trusty phone and read the synopsis I wrote for everyone.
All right. Wait with bated breath.
Leslie is on a new nursing assignment in Spar Creek, a town nestled in the Appalachian Mountains. After serving in World War II as a nurse and finding his sexuality in Paris, he thinks he can handle a lot. That is until he meets someone like him in Spar Creek, someone else who feels like a failed woman. The town blames Leslie for bringing evil ways with him. They want him gone. They don't want his modern medicine. They don't want to hear about contraception. But something more sinister lurks in the shadows, something that is beginning to terrorize the town, and Leslie doesn't want to leave the poor defenseless boy to the superstitions of the townspeople. He keeps delaying leaving until he's given no choice but to face the truth.
Dude, that is a really good recap of this book. That is way better than the book description on the jacket. Good job.
Thank you. I try.
You did a very good job. I think, I like that better than the actual book, actually.
Well, maybe I can find a job writing people's synopsis because...
You can be a copywriter.
Clearly I don't write good enough one for my own book.
You write too short, apparently.
Well, as usual, we are going to start with our star ratings for the book, and per usual, CJ is always up first.
Okay, so I am giving this 2 stars.
Oh, no
I'm
surprise.
giving it a 1 star for being a horror novel, and I'm giving 3 stars for being a well-written piece of literature. And together, that makes 2 in my head. I know mathematically it does not make 2, but to me, with average rating, that makes 2. What did you give it?
That. Well, as usual, no surprise. I already knew your rating. Stupid Goodreads. But I ended up giving it 3 stars.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I appreciated the time period. I appreciated the subject matter. And I appreciated the tiny little bit of horror we did get.
Could you point out to me where that tiny little bit of horror is? Because I think I hiccuped and then I missed it.
The monster at the end.
The monster. I wouldn't even call that horror. Like, I wasn't scared. There was nothing scary about this book except how awful people are, much like with Lone Women. That was like the whole moral of that book, is that people are awful and scary and humanity is worse than any monster could ever actually be.
I agree with you. I felt that, I don't know if it's because horror is becoming a big genre right now and is really growing. I don't know Mandelo's. Ugh, I hate trying to pronounce people's names. I don't know about the other work they've done, so I don't know if they've always leaned horror and this is just, you know, the style of writing that they do, or if this is their first time touching on horror because horror is becoming a bigger topic and they want to branch into it. I do appreciate that it's a diverse book in horror,
yes,
but
definitely.
I feel that, yes, it did not meet the requirements of horror. The author really tried because they kept referencing the mutilated animals. They referenced when Leslie found, what was it, the deer in the walking path. They kept trying to say, even when he went to the woods, that there were all these geodes in the water and he felt things in the woods. So the illusion kept building, but yeah, the only scary horror part were the townspeople.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, you know, as just a novel and as a novella, because I guess, is this called a novella? Is it a novel? I'm not sure. It was so short. As the book it is, even though it was so short, I did feel that it was a good beginning, middle, and an end. I don't feel like it needed to be longer. I got the whole gist of the story. Everything was wrapped up very nicely. So bravo on keeping a very short word count and getting a whole story in there. That was a really good example of how to write, as in our last writing industry trend podcast episode, how to keep your word count down and still deliver a really great story. So I liked that. I liked the style of writing. I thought the author had a beautiful style. I was very immersed in the world. I expected more horror. I expected something spooky and supernatural. And like you said, I felt like we kept building up to it. Little bits and pieces were hinting at it and just ultimately never went anywhere.
I think that's why my rating is a little bit higher than yours, because I just looked at this as a book and took the horror aspect out of it. So to me, it was a 3 overall, because it was just like, okay, if we're any other genre or a book, I liked this book. You pretty much summarized my entire thoughts. It was extremely well written in the fact that this was not a book that I sat there and said, oh, I need more. It was a completely fully fleshed, world built, character, backstories. Yeah. Everything was present in this book in ways that a book 3 times its size does not do.
I agree completely. That's a very good point.
I was not wanting more. Like, it was perfect. And I also loved Leslie as a character.
Yes.
And I thought that this was we don't know, I personally at least, do not know what, I believe these would be considered transgenders of the time. I'm trying to be as politically correct as I can. I'm sorry if this offends anyone. This is my assumption as who I am. These are people that are more of the the first elk of the transgenders, when there wasn't medicine and abilities to be able to perform surgeries, but they were still transitioning themselves as much as they could in the world. Like, I know that they referenced binding at one point and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I liked seeing people from, I think this was the 1920s. Like, I appreciated seeing what it would be like back then to be someone who was transgendered.
Yeah.
So I appreciated all that. That's why it got 3 stars. It is not getting 3 stars because of the horror part of it.
And it's not getting 3 stars for me because of the panther sex scene toward the end. What the fuck was that?
That's the horror.
That's the horror. That was... I was reading this on the plane to France. So I'm sitting there, all the lights are off, people are trying out, and I'm just like glued to this because I'm like, what is happening? Is this really happening? And I must have started muttering something because my husband next to me is like, are you okay? And I'm just like, you won't even believe what I am reading right now. Like, is that bestiality? Would we consider that bestiality? I think so. That not for me. Not for me. It was a little too far for me. But, it was definitely a surprise. I was not expecting that, and I do like to be surprised when I read literature.
I was also slightly confused with that part of the book in the terms of the sex portion because of previous conversations about sexual acts and all this stuff, and I wasn't sure what hole it was going in, or like
I assumed the female hole.
No, it might have been the other one.
That sounds like a weird band name, the female hole.
So I was just very confused in all of that, and I was not able to follow along as well as I would have liked. I also found it interesting that the more the character changes, the more that they transition as well. That is their form of being able to transition. I did you get that at the end?
I don't. So, okay, I have a question. At the end, does Stevie the panther person, bite Leslie, and then Leslie too becomes a panther person? And now that's kind of... No, that did not happen? Okay.
The biting might have happened. The biting might have happened.
Okay.
Also, are you tapping your desk?
I may be. I may have done that.
She is very emotional, listener.
So I thought that the, how do I say this? That being a panther or shapeshifter animal was kind of a metaphor for being transgender or feeling out of your body and feeling like you should be living a different life. And that when Stevie bit Leslie, he too became a panther, and now they're united together as panther people who are different in that way from society as well. And they lived happily ever after with their panther lives.
That would have been really cool.
But that did not happen. Okay.
I don't believe so.
Like a werewolf type of thing, but good, because you're not, mindlessly killing people. You're purposely killing people because you know exactly what you're doing. But that's probably not great either.
I don't believe so, because Leslie specifically does reference binding at the end.
Okay.
Which, for those that might know, it's about binding the upper area to represent more of a boy, and I'm trying to be as politically correct as I can.
A flat-chested individual.
Yes. So, because of that, and the fact they reference that every time Stevie transitions into the creature, they transition more into, producing male genitalia.
Oh, I did not get that. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they make a reference at the end.
I think I was just so shocked that I just... the rest of it. Yeah. When the panther penis came out, I just lost it.
We're going to get so blacklisted on here. On YouTube. I was trying to see if... Plus, his chest seemed to flatten another centimeter every time he shifted between forms.
Oh, interesting.
So I just assumed that was, everything.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't get that. It was dark on the plane. I may have skimmed the last bits after the panther sex.
But I thought that I did appreciate the more happy ending, because I feel that a lot of these style of books that they would, the whole time I expected Stevie to be killed or Leslie to be killed, because a lot of times that's where authors tend to go with these style of stories. And I appreciate that we got the happy ending. They're going to be together. They're going to start a new life. They leave all of Spar Creek behind them, and they get this chance to be themselves. And I love that. I really do. I also loved the little old lady. I thought she was quite fun. An interesting little jaunty character.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah. This is so hard. What do you draw out of a 100-page book? I
know. And it wasn't that it was bad. Like we said, it wasn't bad. It was good. It just was kind of, for me, it was there, and then it was over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it was a book I read.
You are not allowed.
There was nothing really that's going to stay with me, I guess. It didn't make a profound impact other than Sex Panther scene. But it didn't really make a huge impact on me either way. I liked it. Would I recommend it to other people? I don't know about that.
I have one friend I'd probably recommend it to, because they are also of the elk.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
This is the last time... Sorry.
I guess I'm thinking of it as, would I recommend this as a dark horror type story? And in my head, I'm thinking no, but if it's a good, timely story, an important message type story, an interesting read, and it was in Appalachia, right? It was, or Appalachia. that kind of story, then yes, I would recommend it because it is an interesting read. Just set your sights appropriately because you ain't going to be scared by anything.
I do know that very recently there has been a massive push for Appalachian books and authors to be able to have a voice. They're trying to break out of the stereotypes that come attached to them. I have an author, if anyone is interested, Sarah Nicole Lemon, speaks out about this a lot on her social media platform. She lives in Appalachia. I love her. She's, to me, the most darling human ever. And someday I hope to personally, in the flesh, meet her. We have DM'd each other, but we have not talked. Maybe I'll have her on the podcast someday. That would be a dream get for me. So I appreciated, and I appreciated the Appalachian part of this, especially because I have family from there. And and like I said, I like the 1920s. So we're after World War II. There's the references to World War II, but there's not World War II in it. Thank God. I refuse. But CJ, this is the last time you're recommending a 120-page book.
Did I recommend this one? I thought you picked this one.
Damn it. Maybe I did.
Maybe it's one we decided on together. Because I remember we were looking through a list of books and we probably saw this one together. And we're like, ooh, Appalachia. Because that for us is a draw for the reasons you said. And I just find it really cool. There's a lot of ghost stories that come out of that region. So, and I definitely want to explore more of that, the folk horror type genre that's emerging. And this would qualify in there. So maybe we both picked it together and we were both a little... I actually saw another book that is coming out about folk horror set in Appalachia. And I was going to message you and be like, we should read this. And then I remembered The Woods All Black. And I'm like, no, maybe we should not read this one. So...
But we could throw it in
recommend those.
But we could throw it in 8 months from now.
We could. It's coming out... in August, I think. It's something called The Unmothers or something like that. I forget what it's called now. But it looked interesting. It looked a very similar premise, weird things are happening, mutilated corpse. Oh, it was something about a human gives birth to a horse or a horse gives birth to a human. So somebody's sent to go check it out. And right away I'm like, boom, that sounds amazing. But, and then there's some weird cult thing going on. But again, I'm worried it's going to be, is humanity as bad as the supernatural kind of thing? Or is there actually going to be some supernatural stuff in there?
Yeah, are we...
I feel like I'm just constantly being deceived.
Are we going to break out of this in horror that humanity sucks? Because I already know this and I'd prefer to read some more mystical stuff.
If I want to read Humanity Sucks, I'll read a serial killer thriller. Which I'm not doing. I want to read about ghosts. I want ghosts and demons and vampires. And maybe some werewolves. Depends.
Or you just
Mostly
go read
ghosts.
the news.
Yeah, right?
Which I
Seriously.
just picked up a book. This sun is just hitting me perfectly right now. I'm just, whoa.
Oh, look at that.
But I actually just read a book with vampires in it. And it is a very unique vampire perspective. And I'm really excited to pick a book too. And it is from Blood and Ash. I will have a review of it on my booktube very soon, shortly, if not already. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, but so go listen to that and see my thoughts on the book. Because I like unique vampire stories. It's hard to find something unique nowadays. But
that's how I feel about haunted house stories. There's so many out there that it's hard to find a really good, unique version of it. So that's why I pretty much read any haunted house story there is out there, because I'm always looking for the new and unique. I think the last unique one I read was the September House by Carissa Orlando. I think I mentioned it a few months ago. But since then, I'm looking. So if anybody has any good recommendations, let me know.
Yes, I feel that haunted houses are your trope and spy book movies are mine. I don't care. I don't care if it looks so bad. I will watch any spy or heist movie out there because I can't help it.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I'm trying to stretch this out. What else can we talk about?
Yeah.
What else can we say? People.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, though, who feels like they're coming up short, because as I was writing my notes, and usually I have 2 to 3 pages of notes for each book. I just had nothing. I didn't bother to take any notes while I was reading, and I was going back through the book yesterday or today, because I read this while I was on the plane, and then I spent a whole week in Europe, and I kind of lost track of a lot of things. I was just refreshing myself the story. I'm like, no, that's pretty much it. And from a writer's perspective, I think we've covered a lot of it already. You know, it's well told, it's succinct, it has good character building. One thing that I wish, again, this goes with the scary part that I wish had come into more play, was when Leslie finds that altar with the bones on it or something. I thought that was such a great moment. I was like, oh man, okay, this is gonna get good. We're gonna find out what's going on. And I think later it's addressed by Stevie, like Stevie did something, right, to bring about the Panther power.
Cut off his fingers. That was it. Yeah. I was just a little disappointed with that because I wanted it to be a bit more, and fizzled. That is one thing I felt that we would get more of in this book that we didn't, is the Appalachian kind of mysticism and maybe, what do you call it? Myths, rumors, the witchy part of Appalachia. Because, I mean, I feel that because they were, so many of these towns are in the deep woods without a lot of, you know, outside contact to them, and this is where they live, that they would develop kind of their own spiritual witchiness, and I wanted more of that. It felt that the old lady had a lot of information on it because she had the herbs and the garden, and she made herself scarce when the people were coming, and I really would love a book that goes deep into that and kind of like explores that and makes like a horror. I might need to write this book.
I think you should. I think you absolutely should. I will read it. I will be your CP.
My grandfather's from Appalachia. I have a connection. Like, you know, I'm not just some random person writing about it.
Yeah. I started listening to this podcast, Haunted something. I forgot. I mentioned it in the last episode. But it takes place, or it's from two podcasters living in Appalachia, and they have a lot of Appalachian authors, and the one recently I listened to was a forager, and there was somebody involved in mysticism, and I'm learning a lot about the culture down there, and it's fascinating. They have a whole like subset of demons and fairy type beings and ghosts that some of them we have here, not here, but I guess that we know about, but we call something different. Other ones I've never even heard of. And I know a lot about different supernatural beings. I'm very nerdy that way. And there's stuff I have not even heard of. And I find it absolutely fascinating. So it's really fun to learn about. And like you said, I think we could have a lot of good books that incorporate all of this into it. And I was hoping this would be one, and it wasn't. But maybe we should keep on the watch for some other books. Maybe I'll put the other one
I'm going to have to get that podcast theme from you. The other thing that I would love to also mention as a final like thought from the book is I hate third person with a passion. It is not what I like to read. I feel that it is very disconnected from the reader. We don't get the emotions. I just don't connect as much. And this is one of the few books that, even though it was in third person, I was extremely immersed in the story and connected to Leslie and his entire arc and plot and all of that stuff. And so for me, if you want to write in third person, you want to be successful in it, this would be a really good book. It's quick anyway, but a really good book to kind of see how you can do it correctly, in my opinion.
I actually didn't even realize it was written in third person when you started talking about it. I was like, but this was in first person. No, because it was done so well.
Exactly. And if you want to connect and have readers absorbed in your story, you really have to be able to make that connection, even in third person. We don't need that distance in the writing either.
Yeah.
It's a short book. We'll just do a short podcast.
Yeah, I think that works.
So wrapping it up, we like to re-review the book. Do we have a different rating for you, CJ?
2.5. 2.5. I'm still upset that it was marketed as a dark, spooky book, and it wasn't dark and spooky, and I can't get over that. But otherwise, it was a really well-written book and a really good story, just not the story I was hoping for.
It's the M. Night Shyamalan of books.
Again, that could be more the marketing copies. See, if I had read your description of the book and not the actual description of the book, I would have been like, okay, I know what I'm in for, and I'm still really intrigued by this book. But that's not what I read, so my expectations were set differently.
Yeah, I really liked the book as a book. I liked the story. I liked everything. I would have read this book no matter what. But again, yes, it's not horror. And publishers, marketers, you need to listen. Like, this isn't horror, and you're getting bad ratings. It's the Village of books. Even though I personally love the Village, it's just, yeah. But I'm gonna stick with 3 stars. I have a question.
Are we misreading the genres for these books? Was this billed as horror, or do we just see the word dark in some kind of description and think it is horror?
So if you look at the tags attached to the book in Goodreads, the first one is horror.
Okay, then we're not crazy. Okay, yeah, we were led astray by marketing.
I don't know who does the tags or how they work on Goodreads, but if the first tag is not horror, I normally don't recommend it.
Okay.
So I did double check.
Okay, good, thank you. And not that we're like lambasting somebody for something that isn't even their fault. No, they are completely at fault.
I also believe that with Lone Woman, the first one was also horror. A woman, because you have to put it in so perfectly.
Oh, I hate that. It's so annoying.
I think it's getting a little better on Goodreads. Yes, the first genre tag is horror. So if you go to see how it says horror, or the horror. So I do look for that before. And Lone Woman actually was on the list of horror books you should read, and getting a lot of notoriety specifically in the horror genre. I don't know about this book. It wasn't even available on the shelf at my bookstore. I had to order it online. So I don't know. But I'm going to stick with 3 stars because I can get past that aspect, and I thought it was a really good book. So sorry, listeners. We'll do better. We're listening, we're learning, and we'll do better. At least it was.
I don't know if the marketing people in publishing world will do better with their descriptions, but we will do better.
At least it was short, so we didn't have to suffer for too long.
That's true.
But now, I have been waiting for next month's book since it was whispered that it was getting published. I have been dying. It's just come out as of this podcast, it just published, so we're up, it's right here. But we are reading My Darling Dreadful Thing by Joanna Von Veen. So this is the synopsis from Goodreads. This is not me writing it, this is Goodreads. But it says, in a world where the dead can wake and walk among us, what is truly real? Ruse? Well, how do we want to pronounce R-O-O-S?
R-O-O-S. Roos? Is she
Roos?
Dutch?
Roos Beckman.
Roos?
Well, the lady
Roos
is...
Beckman. Okay, we're going to go with that.
The author is Von Veen.
That sounds Dutch-ish, I think.
So, Roos? We're going to go with Roos.
I think.
Roos Beckman.
Not that I know how to speak Dutch or anything, so I don't know why this is relevant, but...
Ruth Beckman has a spirit companion only she can see. Ruth, strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries, is the only good thing in Ruth's life, which is filled with sordid backroom seances organized by her mother. That is, until wealthy young widow Agnes Knoop attends one of these seances and asks Ruth to come live with her at the crumbling estate she inherited upon the death of her husband. The manner is unsettling, but the attraction between Ruth and Agnes is palpable. So how does someone end up dead? Ruth is caught red-handed, but she claims the spirit is the culprit. Dr. Montague, a psychologist tasked with finding out whether Ruth can be considered mentally fit to stand trial, suspects she's created an elaborate fantasy to protect her from what really happened. But Ruth knows spirits are real. She's loved one of them. She'll have to prove her innocence and her sanity or lose everything.
This sounds really good. I'm excited.
I know. I'm scared now. I'm double checking the tag on Goodreads.
My expectations are now set a little high, and I'm just scared of being disappointed.
Yes. Okay. The first tag is horror. That
doesn't give me any comfort because the first tags and other ones were horror, and they weren't horror.
Yes, I double checked. The tag is horror. I was just scared now. I had to make sure.
But that gives me no comfort because the other ones, Lone Women and The Woods Are All Something or Other, were horror too, and we're left alone without horror and just panther sex.
But this won't be our fault because we at least checked.
Okay, that's true. We give it a try.
But I am so excited for this book. I feel like we haven't read a book like this in a while. I don't think we've touched on like actual ghosts in a while. So I am so excited and stoked, and I hope that you guys are as well. Make sure to buy your copy with one of our affiliate links in the show notes to help support us and keep the lights on. We won't judge you who you pick. Just click on one and buy it. And you're also helping an independent bookstore. Don't forget, you can put your own local independent bookstore in Bookshop and help them out. But thank you so much, friends, for listening to Dark Side of the Word, a dark podcast for all of the dark story lovers out there. Thank you for, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Otherwise, we're a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeart. But thank you so much. And if you want to answer polls and questions that are specifically in Spotify, please go and do so. Thank you so much. Bye, friends.